thing. So there's a place up in Mackinac City that you get smoked fish at, and they also smoke cheese,
that's a
they
good
smoke
place.
butter.
I like one of that.
They smoke butter?
Yeah,
Mackinac City?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. I'm not a fish or cheese fan, but
Yeah,
my wife.
yeah.
is.
There.
Oh, cheese, yum.
Yeah.
Cheese is my go-to.
Cheese.
Anytime.
Jeff, I'll catch you later.
Have fun.
Yeah.
I know, I have the same thing.
My goodness.
Yeah. Lucy's with us, or, yeah, we would go at lunch or something.
We leave today.
Oh,
We're gonna
boy.
get out.
Where are you
What time's your
going?
flight?
We don't go, the flight isn't until Sunday, but we're going down to a wedding
Mhm.
first. We're flying to Ireland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah. But we don't leave like till 8:45 on Detroit on Sunday, so we got
Right,
the whole weekend.
Where do you
Nice.
fly into?
We're going to Belfast. We're gonna actually stay in Donegal primarily, which is like west of Belfast. And Brady arranged for,
Is the whole family going?
no, just, well, Michael's sister's going.
Okay.
Yeah, Brady and Alex rented the house, but then they learned they couldn't use it, so then I said, would you please, guys, please use it?
Oh,
I wasn't
nice.
really planning to
Oh,
go to Ireland right
okay.
now, but okay.
Fun. Good.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
he's got a coworker that's gonna actually give us a little tour of Belfast on the morning after we get there, and then we'll
Nice.
go over to Donegal.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Can't say what you want to say.
Nope. Well, I have to take special classes.
That's a quorum, right?
Yeah. I didn't hear from anyone say that they weren't coming, but
We're moving a boat or something down a bunch of the roads, so we might be stuck behind them.
Patrick usually walks.
He walks, yeah, and John walks, of course.
John might be out of town. I'm not sure. Saw him a few days ago, but
It is. Hot off the press.
hot off the press. Wow.
Oh, what is that?
You can see it in a moment.
Yeah, no, I don't
That's the
even-
boardwalk fundraising brochure.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, thank you.
Well, this is much cleaner. I mean, I saw the.
You saw the message
Yeah,
one.
no, well, it's much cleaner, which is really nice.
All right, so honest opinion, if we get more printed, do you think we should put less information, make the font bigger for all us old folks? Like, I can't read that without my glasses. for
Well, I
sure.
can't read anything without my glasses, so this one's a little hard to read,
Yeah.
this brown on white, this history. I like this muted coloring,
Mhm.
but that's a little bit hard even to read.
Okay,
Um,
I'm okay with that.
I think it's okay. I mean, I
can
don't
read it
think
without
it's,
glasses.
yeah, I think
so
it's,
Scott's got a big stack of them, so he is talking to people all the time at New York.
Good.
Yep.
And Pierce is
And,
too.
you can't read this. I mean, I can't.
It's a
even-
graphic, you're
with
not,
my
I don't think you're
glasses
supposed to
on.
read
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you probably.
Just a.
Okay, because I can't read that.
Very good.
And Lucy's, I think what we're gonna try and do is come up with like an 8.5 by 11 that people can tape on the inside of a window, because this doesn't really lend itself quite so well.
Right. Where are these gonna be placed?
For use at New York to give out, and then,
Patrick. Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah.
It's okay. Good seeing you as well. Hi,
Patrick.
Hello.
Hi, Patrick.
Karen?
Okay. It's
that
going into
time.
order.
I'll call the roll. Karen Stroh,
Here.
Nancy Rondell,
Here?
Anna Mulder,
here,
and Patrick Watts. Here. We have a quorum. John Cassidy is absent, and I believe that last month was the end for our student rep. They do the school year, so we will probably have someone else join us in the fall in the school, so.
yeah, she was a
Okay.
senior, I think, right?
No, junior maybe. So
Okay.
if she decides to come back, she may want to.
Should somebody send her a nice thank you note or
John.
something?
Yeah. Oh, John is here.
I'm here. I was just seeing where I was on the wait list for everything.
Oh,
Not good news.
Number 127.
157.
You can take our Harvard plan. Any question about that?
Just the survey, this one.
It's waiting list for a vote. or-
Yeah, for boat, kayak. Kayak's a little better. I'm 30 something. But
Yeah, the vote thing's unbelievable.
So you gotta take the harbor survey, John. The survey for the harbor just came out.
Oh.
And there's some,
It's on the website.
on the website, you want to make sure you take it because it
Okay.
addresses a lot of those exact issues.
Like that you should have to re-up every year kind of
Well, whatever you think is best.
thing?
Yeah, I think,
There's some questions you want to answer. on it. Let's put it that way.
All right, my goal today is to keep the meeting to 30 minutes. We'll see how
Cool.
long I do.
We can do it.
We don't have a big agenda here. We don't have a big agenda. So first item on the agenda is the minutes. And I need, I'll make a motion. Okay.
Did we correct I think I was left off as being here. I am in
Yeah.
it, but yeah, did we? correct that?
I will make that correction. I have made that correction from your note on my
Okay,
copy,
good.
not on this copy, but yes, Nancy has pointed out that she was.
I was here.
Oh, yeah.
And
But-
Savannah wasn't, was she last time?
No, she was
No.
not.
Okay,
She was
she
not.
wasn't. I
So-
couldn't remember.
I'll take her out and add
Yeah.
Nancy in there.
Yeah, they have you voting, Nancy. You must.
I know they did. I know how they do the minutes, so I know how that happens, but
Copy and paste. Yep.
yeah, copy and paste.
I listened to it on YouTube, so I knew you were there.
It was fine. It was fine. But other than that, I'll second Dan's with those corrections.
Yeah, all right. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Minutes are approved with that correction. Board communications.
One thing is that at a future meeting, probably July or August, the city has a substation project near the, it's kind of by Bay Bluffs, near where the soccer fields are at, it's on Lake Street. Anyway, there's gonna be some tree clearing for that project, so we can put our electric substation there. So then we're gonna replant trees as screening, so we're gonna come back to the tree board to just get some input on what types of trees to screen the substation with and the species, so. Yeah, this is where the school had accidentally removed trees and we got money from the school for that, so it's in the same location. But anyway, that'll be the next meeting, just want to let you guys know it's out there.
Are you saying the schools will pay for the replacement?
Oh, that already
They
happened,
already
it's just, I'm
did.
just talking about it's the same location
Okay,
where the substation is going, yeah, so.
okay. Anything else?
I should also say that we do have someone who cut some vegetation on city property.
Was that yesterday?
Yeah, on the bluff. We were working with them. Ben and I were working back and forth with this individual to create a plan, and we were going through the process of approving his plan, reviewing it. We hadn't given the approval yet, but I guess their company started the work. And so there's like, he said, she said, who started it? So we're investigating that, but just, there wasn't, I don't think, any trees removed. I think it was more brush and shrub, but Ben's gonna take a look.
There is
point does a
nothing larger
strip
than 4 inches in diameter, which has been a threshold for city management projects before. So it's all small, even though there's ash trees. I mean, like, so per species, they would be trees in over time, but right now they were 8 feet tall.
I
So
think
they're
there's some
very small.
lilacs. Am I on the same
There's some-
thing?
Yeah, so
there's
it's kind of by the
some lilacs.
boardwalk in the city's right away.
Craig texted me and I was
Yeah.
out and went and looked.
So the police are investigating and Ben's working on it, just to let you know that we did receive a few complaints in the police department, City Hall, that this was happening and there was some sort of miscommunication between the contractor and the owner of the house on when to start and where to start. So just if you hear anything, we're following through on
It
it.
got taken care of pretty quickly though, I think, because,
Police went up there right away.
well, I got a text
She is.
from the gentleman who was upset about it. And I was about 10 minutes behind and I got the text and I was out. So I drove there so I could answer his question and they were already gone. So it was taken care of quickly, which is,
So they stopped.
Wait, so they, wow,
I mean, it was pretty quick.
they were in and out. Sounds like they were planning to move fast.
So I don't know. That's all I know.
We did send police out there to stop. So I don't know, they conversed with them and we're doing some more investigating, so.
And Victor, I did get an email from the homeowner.
Yeah.
Apologizing, saying, I don't know what happened, but at this point, I don't know if there's any reason for me to communicate directly with, Hennessy,
Yeah.
the police or not.
Yeah.
So,
So if they had continued to cut And before we actually stop them, what would have been the process? Would they be fined for it?
So we do have a fine, but that's why I'm having Ben and the police investigate, see how many trees actually were cut off. Does it meet the threshold in our ordinance for how many trees and, you know, what we would have had, because we were probably gonna approve that request anyway. But what did they take out in addition compared to what we would have approved, you know, what's the cost? So we're trying to search through all that, you know, figure that all out, but
One good question that you got too is like, what, there needs to be a disincentive for people to ask forgiveness instead of permission.
Yeah.
Which is that, oh, well, if I was gonna pay this anyways, and that's one thing I think we really need to look into is that there may be some finger pointing to cover up the idea that we spend a couple extra bucks, but they get what they want right now. That's not okay either.
Yeah, maybe there should be a fine if someone doesn't wait for approval.
Yeah.
You just, because of that, on top of what you charge them for the trees
so
that came out.
it's already a violation of our ordinance,
Yeah.
even without the tree ordinance that we have, it's already a violation if you trespass on the city property without permission.
Right.
It's already some sort of fine. We do have the tree ordinances, which is extra protection and more money, like $1,000, I forget how much, $1,000 per tree. So, so we gotta see what kind of fine is appropriate and, or if we can settle a payment without having to go to court, you know,
Yeah.
there's always that possibility. But anyway, I just wanted to advise you that if you hear about that, there was an issue yesterday.
I just have one more question too. Somebody over that way cut down a whole bunch of trees in the bluff last year. I think I called you and I called Kyle. Would that be the same person? Do you know?
I don't think so. I don't think this person, no. And there's always, I guess, some misunderstanding from people who live on the bluff about what is theirs and what isn't their right to cut. And some people think they own right up to the street and some people think.
Well, that's one thing that like we found out just recently is that in different places in the city, things are owned differently, or right of ways are different. And so it is very important for people to search for where their property locations are.
Get a survey. They need a survey. And this person did get a survey.
Yeah.
And so.
Well,
They went through.
I think everybody involved knew that it didn't belong to the person that was.
Yeah.
participating.
But anyway, that's,
Well, the other question too is who is the contractor? Because they should know better than they
yeah,
do.
yeah, we're
Yeah, on
talking
both
about that.
sides. They should. Well, I'm glad it got stopped pretty quickly, actually. Yeah, I'm happy for that.
Interesting.
Have
Those
5
cases
minutes
are
to go.
attractive.
Yeah. I know, it's already got 15. I can try 6 more. Any other communications?
No, that's it. I'm good.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for those updates. Any public comments? Anybody on?
I would like to mention that at council, Sarah McLean, who's a neighbor around the corner from me on Washington Court, so thank you for a lovely Arbor Day.
Oh,
And she
yeah.
hopes we continue to do it. And her and her 3 kids were there a good part of the day. And
Yeah, I think it was really
It was
good.
fun.
So why don't we go on to that topic of Arbor Day
Yes.
Fest recap? Yeah, I got some really positive comments too from people that came to it. I thought we got a really good turnout for the first time, you know? So we figured about 80 people maybe came through.
well, it's the second time actually, but
Well,
it
yeah,
was very
but I mean,
different.
up
It was a
there,
very different, you
Yeah,
know, it's
right.
a very different type of event. I thank you, Savannah,
I
for.
was just gonna say for the artwork.
Yeah, the
that
artwork, that was
great.
really, that was really cool. And
That's
it's still up there, I think. Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
keep it up there.
Did you see it up there? Did you get a chance to get up and see it?
I didn't, unfortunately.
We should.
What's
check
still
it out
there?
sometime.
Yeah, it looks nice
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
Yes, addition.
And I thank all the volunteers. I appreciate everyone here. You know, Patrick for doing your nature art, Karen, Dan, all the work you put into it, Nancy as well.
It's fun.
John for cooking, Ben for.
We didn't kill
for-
anybody with the hot dog.
Great.
John, all right.
And you know, Ben for doing the tree climbing, which was fun for a lot of the little kids that wanted to do it. So,
Which, yeah, next year, maybe the suggestion is we investigate how we do that with smaller people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't want them going higher because of liability purposes, but if we can figure out something more detailed for next year.
Code names. Nobody uses their real name, they don't know. what to do.
But as far as recap, I just, you know, anyone have anything about what didn't work or what could be improved just as we go? Just keep that in mind as we don't need to think about it too much, but for next year, we'll probably start planning for this again in January and February. So I think everything worked pretty well. I mean, we advertised, we got sponsors, so, you know, I think that worked. I think maybe collaborating again, maybe more closely with the Parks Board
Yes.
to make it maybe even a you know, like a joint event, a little bigger event, but, you know, also, you know, because the disc golf was thrown in at the end there, you know, which is cool, but, you know, anyway, maybe find ways to get, some more of the community, different parts of the community come out as well, so.
I thought it was good to have the farmer's market, the
Yes.
guys down there, I think that was a
The white pines
plus.
were flying off the
They
shelf.
were, I think that was a good exposure for tree board, just to be down at the market, but that was good.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd eliminate anything that we did. I think everything went really well.
We were having a little discussion about, should we do it there again next year, or we can decide next year, I
I
guess.
think we can, I think it is the best spot for a fest, I mean, but it depends on maybe if we can do tree plantings or not, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe there might be, we can still do it there and have a separate location where we do tree plant, I don't know, it's gonna depend on what we do, I mean, as far as tree
Right.
plantings and.
We've got a year to think about it.
Yeah.
We had great weather.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
perfect.
I think the park was a really good place to do it. I think it brought a lot of people back to the park that had not been there for a while. I mean, so many of us who had the kids who grew up here haven't been back to the park, and so we started getting ready for the event. So I think it's good to keep publicizing a park.
Yeah.
Kiwanis, I think is a good one.
That's all I had, just recap.
Yeah, I think we can incorporate more like real trail walks besides the nature walk, which I think was well received. You know, we can do more things like that, even little fun events or little fun races or something.
Zip line.
A zip line, yeah.
Top of the hill to the bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, different educational topics about trees and stuff, you know,
Yeah.
this was a tree identification, this time maybe we also had a, you know, I don't know, some a maintenance session like we talked about last time, like a demonstration, so.
Well, I think we gotta
800
keep,
level physiology.
there you go.
Let's talk about osmotic pumps, kids.
That lecture will be 4 hours.
So I wanted to know about the thank yous. Should I write thank you notes too?
I've already sent
You did
to
already?
Johans and Hoffman's. Yeah,
Did you do the IGA?
I didn't do the IGA.
I can do IGA, because I was gonna do them, and then
It's not the
Victor told me he'd already done. it,
Harbor Springs
so we didn't
Market.
want both.
Great,
But not the IGA, the Harbor Market.
yes.
How about Eric Hemingway?
I'll send them, okay, I know, yeah.
Okay, so did the Harbor. I
I've
can-
already did through email, but I can send more formal.
I loved his talk, by the way, I thought he was really good.
And they donated the hot dogs.
They did, yes.
Anything else? The
No, I
Harbor
think
Market
just primarily the hot dogs.
and the buns.
I think Rachel got those in.
I think she had to go to Gordon Food Service.
Okay,
to get
so they
some items.
basically
I think
did
just the
that.
hot dogs.
Okay, I'll get that out to them by the week, by tomorrow.
Did we get any posts on your city?
I think I was the only one who posted a picture. I saw some art work there.
Yeah.
But I didn't see anyone actually take pictures or post them. So maybe we can find a different way or to get the word out on how to post that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were a little hesitant, you know, to post their
The creation.
creations, yeah. So
It was very fun to find him on the trail, to find yours on the trail.
Did you find that anybody, were they making anything out on the trail?
I didn't, when I was out with my group, one group ended up going, we didn't really get enough people to do another, or the timing didn't work or something.
there's a few, I walked it, there was a few, but I don't know who did that.
I didn't go out and look, but I think we could have handled a lot more people, really, because we have a lot of events that we.
Right.
Yeah,
We could have had a lot more people
Oh, yeah.
there. There's plenty of space.
I think we will. Next year.
Yeah,
word
like
out.
you say, build on it.
Mhm. That's why I think we should be consistent about where we have it too.
Yeah, keep building.
All right, well, great. Nice job, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And we lucked out of the weather too, for sure.
Yeah,
Is there anything we want to be sure and remember for next year?
how many trees we ordered? Because we always
200.
talk about.
200?
We always talk about that.
200, we probably gave
And
out.
you know, I think it was 200 hot dogs too, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah, there were probably 20 or 30 left, I think.
Hot dogs,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you ordered 125, you probably did. 150.
Yeah, we had trees left over too.
Did we have,
Mhm.
how many? Do you know?
Probably about 40.
Maybe 40, yeah.
So 100.
But the thing is, like, you can't order your trees, like, they don't come in like, you know. you get
Individual
one to
trees,
24, you gotta get like 100, 200 or something, so. But they're not, being that this year was sponsored was fine, you know, like, we got, you know, I don't think we really paid anything from our city coffers to do this project, you know, maybe a little bit of advertising, that's it. So if we can find sponsorships every year, that's great. Yeah. You want to
All
move
right,
on?
yeah, let's go to the MDOT 119 culvert project.
Yeah, so I know you guys briefly kind of discussed this at the last report meeting, I listened to YouTube, but this is basically what they are willing or suggesting to plant, sugar maples, red oaks, and the hawthorns. And the yellow bands in this is where they say are the only places they can actually replant due to the slope. And of course, closer to the top is where we probably also would want trees. So I am, they didn't give us an exact number and they're probably not gonna give us a precise number on how many are gonna go in there, but I mean, this is, if this is what they say they're gonna do, I don't really think, I don't know what else we can say. It's like, you better do this or that. I mean,
I do have a comment. So there's gonna be no watering these trees, no gator bags, I mean. right
no,
now.
we don't take care of this property right now. We probably aren't gonna go take care of it.
So I was just having a thought, is it really that practical to put trees in here? Because, it's so steep, the water's not really gonna percolate like it should. We can't fill in gator bags, it's just not practical.
But we're not gonna go down the
How
slope,
much
are we? We're just gonna stay on the top of the
they're-
trees.
Cutting down trees for access.
This area, yeah, so this right here, this outline, that is their work construction area, so they can construct this culvert that they're gonna have an easement for. So they're gonna give this back to the city, it's a temporary easement, so they can do the work to, they're gonna clear that of the vegetation so they can do that work.
Where's 119? I couldn't figure out where, it's way at the top.
M19 is at the top, yeah.
Okay,
It dumps out like in Weequay,
yeah,
by Weequay Golf.
So this is M119 right here, where this arrow is.
okay,
Going that way.
yeah.
So from what I can see, it looks like there's 20 feet of elevation drop before we can even put trees in. So then is that gonna put the canopies like right in the view as you drive by? I mean, if they're willing to do trees, I just wonder if we would have a conversation about should trees go somewhere else or keep them in our tree bank for some project?
They're taking trees out to do this, right?
They're clearing this entire, yeah.
So, and this might be a stupid question since I'm not really tree knowledgeable, but if the trees that they're taking out grew there, why wouldn't the trees that they replant grow there? Is that a silly question?
I think they grew from seeds,
Rather than
then a
trees?
great big root ball.
I
that's-
see.
Yeah.
Okay, I see the difference.
Like it might naturally regrow if you didn't plant something.
Right.
Eventually that'll probably happen, but if there's too big of an opening, what will happen is we'll get things that we don't want to
Right.
grow there.
Okay.
Like Norway maples or honeysuckle or something like that will move in because they're a lot more aggressive in their
Right.
reproduction.
Okay.
I wonder, can we as a group go see this next meeting? I mean, are you
We,
allowed to leave this chamber without, all the electronics to
Not
go
all at the
look
same
at it?
time.
It's not too far up the road.
They're gonna probably come back with an agreement for us soon, so I mean,
For the next
I mean, you can try to walk that, but that's really steep.
They were up there not too long ago, I
Yeah.
saw 'em.
It's steep, I mean,
I think we're just looking at the top, we're not looking at going down.
All the way
left of
down.
plant, No.
I would think it's more,
Except they're not showing a yellow band at the top. They're showing a yellow band 20 foot down the hill.
yeah,
Well, it's more than 20 feet, even if it's 20 feet change in elevation.
Which band are you referring to?
this is one, right?
Here's the street,
Okay.
so there's not even a yellow band until, a quarter of the way
What
down the
about-
hill.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just trying to think
Yeah.
about, is it really practical?
So I guess the question here is,
Yeah, this is about 100 feet down the
so
hill.
do we, the question I'm hearing now is, do we, instead of saying, yeah, replant trees, do we say instead, can you give us X amount of money so we can replant trees in the city?
Well, we could bare root that. Maybe we can use bare root stock,
Well, they're the ones gonna do it, like,
Yeah,
so
they're
they're the
gonna
ones
do
who are
it.
gonna,
but we would need to, like the downside that we run into is that it would not be a one-to-one replacement. To get a tree this big, you need thousands of trees that are this big. Like you've got to feed the deer and get hit by dead sticks and stuff like that. And so, I mean, if they're willing to bare root it, that'd be something that they would be done if they're gonna.
Yeah, I think our objective was to not just have a big open space,
Right.
we want to see those trees. I mean, I'd like to continue investigating whether or not we can actually do it at the top, close
What
to
are they
the
gonna
top.
do for erosion control?
This is what they gave me from their environmental department. I mean,
I think they have it kind of terraced. If you look at the topography at the contour lines.
Mhm.
So wherever there's a yellow stripe, you see a wider space between contours, so that means it flattens out.
I mean, I get that, but there's still a huge amount of elevation change between, like.
so here they say the grades in the other areas that are not yellow are too steep to plant trees. Below are the trees that our resource specialist is recommending, the combination of these trees. From what I understand, you would want these trees planted in those upper levels, so.
And I'm not opposed to what you're saying at all. I hate to think of it just being clear cut and not taking advantage of something they should do for us, whatever the right thing to do is, I don't know. I hate to not have
Is
them.
it a matter of accepting their offer or declining?
I was gonna say they.
Or as you said, asking for the monies instead?
Well, really what comes down to it, if we give them hard enough time, they're just gonna say, all right, we're gonna take this property and
Yeah,
compensate you for it.
Well, here's an idea. What if,
So
I'm sorry.
Can you resist that?
we don't really have a lot.
we really don't. I mean, this is the state for a state project. They're kind of actually being more
It's kind of like a take.
amenable than they
They're
normally
being
are
more
on-
accommodating than they
on
have to.
projects. Listening to our concerns, which is great. Obviously, it's not gonna, the real question we have here is, A, it's gonna be clear cut. What are they willing to do to mitigate some of the effects of that clear cutting? And this is what they're saying they can do to mitigate
And
it.
I think there's a part of me that thinks we should let them do it. I understand your concern.
Okay, here's another idea.
Okay,
I don't think it's that practical, or the trees will do well if they're like, 2.5-inch B&B nursery material. What if we asked for money for them in lieu of, and then had Ben or somebody plant bare root seedlings this fall?
In the
That
same
would-
spot.
that would
Well, we
actually-
wouldn't be able to get rootstock till next year,
Or
or
next year, whenever.
whatever it is. I mean, I guess that was the only thought.
I
was
think
that
they'd have
they
a
would-
lot better chance of surviving, don't you?
If we.
Yeah, I think that goes
where-
back to
where-
what Victor was
yeah.
saying, which is that if
Well-
they're willing to write a check for the plant material, just say, here's what we're willing to give you. It's gonna cost them X number of dollars if they
We
say we'll
could-
give the city this.
Well, we could also just ask them to plant the trees bare root.
Yeah.
Instead of having Ben go plant bare root, if we give them this money.
we're gonna have,
We just want more trees.
I mean, it was because we asked for the trees that they're
Right.
doing this.
Yes.
If that, they weren't gonna do it in
They
the
weren't
first
gonna do
place.
it
I
at
don't think it
all.
said how many in here, right?
There's no number, they give it a
Yeah.
number.
but my concern, financial, put my council hat on, if we don't take advantage on this and we say to them, just give us money, that money is probably not gonna cover the stock and Ben's time to plant them. Would be my guess, just what I know.
Yeah, and I'm not
We
sure.
could ask them, and
We
if
could
they
strip
say we're
high
only gonna
schools
give you X amount of money, and we look at it and go, it's not gonna touch it, then we could let them.
But I think,
What if, like you said, we stipulate smaller but more
We could ask
bare
them.
root
yeah, we could ask them
We
to
can ask
do,
them.
so like,
yeah.
what, smaller and bare root, or,
Yeah, I mean, so bare roots, so we're not looking at a huge root ball up and down the hill, which would save on labor cost and installation.
and also, we're not,
We don't have to
DPW
water.
doesn't take care of that.
Right.
We haven't taken care of now, we don't wanna give us more to maintain.
And then just ask for more. I mean, like you're talking about a plant that costs maybe $2 or $5 or something like that, as opposed to one that costs $300.
Do we know they're planning to put big trees?
And
Well, they might
not.
not, it
I
might be
don't know
less.
what they're
They
No,
may
it
put
doesn't really say.
Does it
very
say?
much.
It doesn't say.
Okay.
They just give the height and material, so we can just say, hey.
I'd
this is-
ask them.
This is what we think, we don't take care of that,
No.
we don't water the plants, so I think that's the best way to go, is to recommend bare root of these species.
And that
give as
might be
many-
what they're planning to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we
And
can't
we'd be
really.
glad
tell
if
them.
you
We'd
would
be
be
willing
willing
to
to
have
trees,
more.
go.
Yeah, we'd
Maybe-
rather have smaller and
Yeah,
more
yeah,
than bigger and less.
Yeah.
I think that's probably fine to
If
have.
that's fine, I think that's a good recommend. I think that's-
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, I'm happy with that.
Great. Anything else in the culvert project?
No, they'll eventually come to council for an offer, a financial offer in exchange for the easement, so then council can deal with that fun part later.
When are they starting the project?
It's gonna be next spring, if all
Okay.
goes well.
They
so,
were up there poking around.
Yes.
And they will end up with a permanent easement where the drain is.
Yes,
Middle
yes,
strip,
if you
but
see,
then the rest of it comes back.
yeah, this
Okay.
last,
Yes,
this,
that big area comes back.
this is gonna be a
That's there.
permanent, this is gonna be the culvert, that's permanently theirs, and we'll own everything.
Yeah.
Right there.
So we have to
Yeah,
get
already
them
own
that.
Yeah, but we're gonna get a temporary easement for that.
Thank you for giving us back our stuff. Thanks.
All right, so
New
next,
business.
yeah.
The next tree, canopy article, I have an idea, something
I
about
do
cutting
too.
trees on the bluff.
Oh, God. There's not enough paper to print that out.
Does that get into some kind of dicey legal stuff with that neighborhood that
Well-
owns a lot of it, you know?
No, I think, I don't know where Karen's gonna go with it, but I think about cutting the bluff, it's a good to remind people that, yes, Eastern Bluff might be mostly privately owned, but the city still has a right of way. And,
Well,
they should be doing their due diligence on checking where their survey lot lines are.
and can I chime in on
Yeah,
that?
go
Like,
ahead.
when you say right of way, like, we think of like power line and utility easements. And what it really means is that there's a 66-foot wide strip that the city owns right through private ownership on either side, north and south. And so people say, I own to the bottom. They own two parcels that is bisected by city property. So what's in the city property belongs to the city. I mean, it belongs to the taxpayers. And so, and that's one of the things that I would say as far as articles we have to be careful of, is because you have somebody that's new to the area that essentially did what their neighbor to the west has done for years and years and years without permission. And we're talking about finding them, and no one has ever lifted a finger to do anything to three homeowners, to the west. And what we may see is that ends up eating up a lot of council time, and it has in the past, because people say this is the way it always has been, so forth. And so I would be very careful on how we try this. Not,
Maybe it's more of an informational opportunity to say, hey, this is a policy on vegetation management
Mhm.
of the bluff.
This is why
City
vegetation
doesn't
is
control,
important. Yeah,
doesn't control the trimming of trees on private property. But if you were going to do any trimming of trees in the city right away or on city property along the bluff, you have to get city permission. There's a process for that.
does it make sense to restate what the city owns?
That would have to, we could, and generally it's 66 foot, but what you might have is someone just taking that information and going counting 66 feet. And sometimes it's not always from the center to 33, sometimes it's,
Right, yeah.
It's from the north end.
sometimes,
Yeah.
exactly, sometimes so I don't know, without visuals and I don't know about doing that, but I think maybe just a general information about what our policy is, how it applies to the bluff and.
And maybe we shouldn't
Well,
single,
no city property.
maybe we shouldn't single the bluff out. Maybe we
Yeah.
need to, as a general rule,
Yeah.
remind people.
we just did that recently.
Yeah, we did the article that was in the paper yesterday.
I'm hesitant to just target the bluff properties. I think we can word it in such a way that, there are certain areas of town that are extremely sensitive, one of them being the bluff, and there are some others. And these are areas where it's really important that you don't, I think there's a way to do it diplomatically, but I think we want to be careful not to just point fingers at bluff properties.
Yeah, or you could have a focus of why vegetation is important for slope stabilization.
I just.
It's just, it's like step 2 of what we put in the paper this week. We didn't allude to the bluff at all this week in the article.
Yeah, you can make a reference to it about, I think that's a good point. I think what Nancy says is a good point, make it more general, but then maybe include a tidbit about slopes and.
About slopes or real sensitive areas or, whatever, steepness of terrain, whatever, however is the appropriate.
We're not trying to approach this as a warning to people. It's
Yeah,
supposed to
be
more,
careful about the way it's.
more of like, hey, did you know kind of thing.
Yeah, it's an educational.
Did you know the city has a process if you want to remove vegetation?
I feel like this is kind of redundant what we just did.
Yeah, that's why I think the reason I suggested this is that it's clear that people really don't understand, that this person just thought it was okay to go ahead and start cutting some trees out. And this happened before. I don't think that people really know that
They might
supposed to do that.
understand.
I was just.
I was gonna say, they were well aware of it.
I mean, they're trying to create a plan, so they clearly understood
They're
it.
well aware that they needed to finish the
Yeah.
permit before they continue work.
I think they wanted the trees cut down and that's when they could get,
The problem
that's when they
is,
could get it done.
with this particular individual, and I'm not gonna say names right now, it's not important, but with this what happened was they applied last year, April 2021. We told them they needed a survey because we're not gonna give them permission until we know, where their property ends, where the city is. So they did a survey, they got it to us this April or May. Then we were going back and forth with Ben on, they presented a plan, Ben was making some suggestions on what else was needed in that plan. But they wanted to get on the schedule for this summer, so they contracted, with a landscaper, tree person, whatever, and they
put it
said
on the
we
schedule.
need this done as soon as possible, but then there was some confusion between where that contractor was supposed to start, he was supposed to start on the private property first, so we're still figuring things out there, but basically they knew, this is not about not knowing that there's a process. It's more of, kind of like, well, A, miscommunication, or B, on someone's part, ignorance and putting aside the process just to get what they want. So we don't know which one that is yet until we finish.
And I don't think you're gonna solve that with an article.
No, and ultimately what it comes down to is, and Ben can attest to this, with every application we get, it's like, well, this policy is stupid, basically. It's just sum it up. Well, why is this policy there? We used to be able just to trim. So really what it comes down to is not so much, it's so much that they don't agree with the policy that's in place. So then they're, frustrated with us as staff, and it just becomes this whole convoluted thing. So maybe an explanation about why that policy is in place and how, maybe a little bit of history of that vegetation management policy, I don't know, that.
You could also flesh that out to the point too, which, I mean, a big, huge frustration with a lot of this, especially on the bluff, is that people buy properties that they're told they have a view of, or that they have some legal right to a view. But people don't go beyond that statement. They hear what they want to hear when they buy the house. They say, well, I don't really have a view, and that's true. Like you may have trimming rights for 4 properties to the west, but you really can't see the lake from there. It doesn't give you the right to correct to the east. And so like that might be something to talk about. Maybe not this time, but is the view is what you're looking at, right? Like not what you want to look at.
I think we have to, though, in our article, we're the tree board. So I think we have to, whatever we write needs to be from the tree board's perspective. Not getting in discussions about views and those kinds. I think we have to be careful of that.
I just wonder if this is a little too on top of
Yeah,
this month's article though, and
Yeah.
people are gonna get
Maybe
bored.
something different.
So I did have another idea. I found this really good article from Michigan Natural Resources Inventory about the boreal forest, which is what we have here. That was a little editorial comment. It was very interesting. It just talks about where the range of these forests are and what their composition is, and it's basically like Kiwanis. And so, and it might be interesting to put something in there about, we have these little pockets of forest left around Harbor Spring and why they're important. And then our tree of the month could be Canadian hemlock, which I don't think we've done yet. I did check, you made a list of what we've already written about.
You're gonna update that list.
So the one that just came out was Serviceberry, and then what was the topic again?
Trees.
That was in the June
The one I just
article, so
did,
this is
yeah.
gonna be for July.
Yeah, that's right. And that's a good idea too.
It's a little
You guys
different.
are reluctant, I can tell people are kind of reluctant to try to tackle any reference to the bluff. So.
And we could also save, might be more strategic, but save like something like, if we do specifically more about the bluff or the vegetation management policy, for if that comes up to council again, like,
Yeah.
let's say council decides to review the policy here in the future. Maybe it's a good time for the tree board to delve, educate and delve into the policy and create some conversation amongst the community. So maybe timing and coordinating with what's going on in the city. And maybe we can make even a comment about, maybe not in July's article, but when we do the substation, talk about, why we selected certain species for the substation, it's just a thought, we maybe should coordinate, some of our articles with what's going on. in the
What's
city.
going on in this
Mhm.
specific
Yeah, I like
city.
that.
That would be a good idea. That would be a good idea.
Okay, do you want to try to do that article?
I can do that article, or if anybody can think of anything else that's coming up in the city that we could tie into.
I'm interested in that article.
Okay,
Yeah, it sounds
all right.
interesting.
Maybe
Yeah, I'll send
also
you a link.
a mention here about this culvert project.
Yeah.
Because we've been getting a lot of calls, like, the city's doing this project, and maybe a little short statement about, but this is a state project, you know, it's not a city project there. Maybe we could just have a paragraph or a few sentences on that.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, so
And do you think this is the month to do it in July?
probably because it's gonna come to, well, an agreement's gonna come to council in July or August, probably from,
Okay.
from MDOT on
Let's get it out
it,
there.
so.
Well, and
So
some
you put
folks
that in
might
the
read
article.
the tree thing that don't pay attention to the council
Yeah.
stuff. So it gives them another avenue to know what's going on in town, which would be great.
Well, then this makes me wonder if we should go back to something about trees on slopes and why they're important.
Vegetation management is what you said earlier.
I don't have a problem with writing about that at all. I think referring specifically to people cutting trees on the bluff is probably not the best thing to do right now.
You could write about the culvert project, talk about the slopes.
Yeah.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
put in a line or two about, and there's other places in town that have steep slopes and
Challenges
trees
with-
help with
Yeah.
erosion and,
You can
Like-
tie those together.
and that it wouldn't be quite as on the nose about the bluff cutting trees.
When do you think that'll be more visible what's going on there? If they're not gonna start till the spring,
They're probably not gonna start till this, so I mean,
right, so it's just kind
you
of.
could time it in for
Yeah, you
next
could write that in the
spring.
spring too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Should
don't
we
need to
do
do
that
that
then?
now
Yeah.
then.
Okay.
That's fine.
more people are gonna see it driving by it than will read about it in the council minutes.
And they'll forget about it when they actually start doing it too.
Yeah.
Victor, is there any more about those trees in the right of way by Bay Bluffs?
I don't have any more, I don't know if we've contracted out with anyone yet, I gotta talk to Lucas about that. So, thanks for the reminder.
So the Boreal Forest will be the next article.
Mhm.
July,
Yeah.
and I can work with you.
Yeah, sounds cool.
And I know nothing about that. That would be good.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't know anything much.
You can say
Really
that
don't.
you're learning more
I'm learning.
all the time.
Yes. Anything else on that? We're good? We're good. Okay, we got some other ideas coming forth as well. So number 2, new business, ideas for zoning ordinance requiring incentivizing commercial projects to adhere to ANSI's tree planting standards. Do you want to talk a little bit?
Yeah,
about
so we remember when we established our goals, list of things to do, we picked, this is one of the 3, priorities for the rest of this year. And we do have a new planning consultant, and I discussed it briefly with him, and he said this is actually fairly common in a lot of community zoning ordinances that, and he's like, also, we had another proposed ordinance that we're gonna talk about later that we want to talk about at the tree board level is for a commercial project, X amount of parking spaces requires X amount of trees to either be planted on the property or in a tree bank. And he said that's also fairly common in a lot of communities. So I was just saying, thinking, this could be something very simple, just have an ordinance. I mean, we wouldn't pass it, we would wait till the planning commission reviews the zoning code. But we would put it on the docket for our planner and the planning commission to look at when that section comes up in the zoning code. And that would be just to have a simple ordinance saying that commercial projects, when let's say you're redoing your site, let's say Wallstrom's decides to redo their building and say, all right, you guys are gonna plant 10 trees, those 10 trees have to follow this ANSI tree planting standards. It's very simple.
Those are generally in the tree plan already.
So this goal was in the tree plan, but the ordinance is quite common in other communities, ordinances for site plans.
So it'd be related to the zoning.
Yeah, it would be a zoning, it would be in a zoning.
Gotcha.
So if we're all on board with, having our planning, just draft a little ordinance for that, that we can make, I can bring it to the tree board I mean, it should be very simple. I mean, it's not,
And we could reference the right trees, right place.
maybe, I don't know about the zoning ordinance, if that's the best place to reference that, but it might be. I could talk to John.
When do they update the zoning ordinance?
So we are starting the process of updating the zoning ordinance next month,
Okay,
section by section, and our planning consultant, Johnny, thinks it's gonna take probably 9 months to a year to get that all done, so, but it's a process. I don't know where this will fall in that process, but I figured we'd get ahead of the curve here.
So would there be a mechanism that this would be part of site plan approval then?
For commercial projects, yes.
Yes, so Jeff would check that they had so many trees per.
Yeah, so if they, for example, actually, it's even more of that, let's say, once the inspection, so usually when a project is completed, Jeff, someone goes out there and inspect that it was completed to what was on the plan. We would just make sure we could even send, our arborists out there to make sure that the trees that were planted on the property were planted in accordance with the ANSI standards. And that's, really simple, I mean, A300, yeah, we'll.
So that would be on our next agenda item,
Well, maybe,
statement.
but if I can get John, I always want to say his name on Jelly, I got it. It's a tough one, I forgot. Jeff just told me how to say it. I should be there, it's just my last name's hard to say, but it's all right. Yeah, so I'll do that, yeah. for the next one.
Well, I wonder, and this could be for next month or for this month, if that would be a good topic for the tree corner too, is how to plant a tree.
Well, I think we already kind of let's stick with an idea. If you guys want to change up that's fine, but let's stick with the idea we went to.
I think this is a good idea for commercial projects.
Yeah,
to-
and that's the emphasis, commercial
Yeah.
projects.
Well, it's not like we do a whole lot of them, but I think it's a good place to start.
Yeah, and it's really not.
We don't require that on city property though.
No, we don't, but so for example, let's say a commercial project just wanted to plant a tree in there without going to doing a site plan, they don't have to follow these ANSI standards. It's only when they're redeveloping their property. So, yeah, when I send DPW guys to plant a tree out there, they're not following that, but maybe we want to have a policy on that, but that's kind of like, all right, are we gonna punish ourselves if it doesn't happen? It's not.
Well, we do. Like we planted twice.
No, I get what you're saying. I just think that this is focusing on a specific redevelopment when you want to redo a site. It's a little different than if a commercial business just wanted to plant a tree on the property right now. This wouldn't apply to them. It's only when they're redoing something. And there's also, the other part of it is if one relates to the amount of parking spaces. Our planner basically said that it's a good idea to have trees as well in the parking lot because it's a water quality issue as well. So the surface, the parking lot can get to 95 to 100 degrees. And then when the water hits that surface, the water warms up and it takes water that's 85, 90 degrees, whatever, to the lake, to the bay, which warms up that water near it and so yeah, so there's also a water quality issue. It's not just a shade or carbon dioxide thing. It's also, there's a lot more to it. So it makes sense from multiple levels, but.
What if you didn't have a parking lot? Would you still have to plant trees, plant trees?
No, because that would defeat the purpose. I think it's.
Okay, so it's to mitigate the problem with paving a parking lot.
With a paved, like large paved surface with no shade or no whatever.
And the city's is the one that says they have to be paved, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's a whole nother issue.
It's a whole
but
other.
That's a whole nother issue, but okay, I get it.
I just had a question where we're on the topic of our project list. Were we gonna get something put together where Ben can do some training for DPW guys?
Yeah, that's on my list of things to do, but it's not there yet. Without
Okay,
going on,
yeah.
it's a staff. That's on our implementation matrix. That's a staff level.
I noticed that
Anything else?
you guys planted the trees out here. They look good.
Yeah, they look, I saw.
Yep.
Did notice.
Yeah, they'll grow and they'll grow.
Yeah, that's
they'll grow
good.
nice.
Yeah, they look nice.
I had to just.
Right.
I had to point them out to my wife, like, yeah, that's what we talked about at tree.
That's what we Yeah, we do a different way.
I did have a quick question, just before we wrap up then. I asked that we could have more discussion and that we add to the agenda, the future agenda. And I just don't know how that all,
Karen and I talked about that briefly about the streetscape thing. And I was gonna try to coordinate that with what the DDA is doing. Their plan is coming up for renewal this year, the DDA plan. And I want to maybe try to coordinate with when they decide to have TIF hearing. That's probably gonna be in the early fall sometime. So
Probably have a joint meeting somewhere.
it might be worth
Yeah,
either a
good
joint,
idea.
that's a good idea, joint meeting. But timing it together, so unless you want to talk about it earlier, but I was thinking about,
would there be advantage to that if we talk a little bit about it earlier before? So we sort of have something to, you know,
Okay,
bring to them.
then we could put it on the next,
Yeah.
next tree board agenda. We can put that
Do we have
on.
something we can look at for the next meeting
Yeah.
again, or, I mean, just kind of see where we're at right now, just briefly, I know we've already looked at some.
So we can
plans.
put that on the next agenda and the substation trees species.
And we talked about bringing Ben into that conversation possibly as well, or collaborating with Ben.
For the streetscape,
Yeah,
yeah, you've probably been involved in that streetscape project to a certain degree with Margot and Lucas looking at where trees should go downtown.
Back a couple of years ago, that's a yes, I can answer that.
I don't know, I guess I was called in to check some work at one point, just came up with more questions, so they stopped asking.
All right, yeah, we can do that.
and
There actually
I'm going
is-
back to our mission of trying to, you know, add more to the urban green space here. So that's sort of where I'm trying to get people to think about. I don't have answers. I'm hoping you do.
There
You
actually,
know.
Don't look at me.
So this is what I'm trying to promote. I'm trying to create discussion.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Patrick. I think we do just need to keep it moving forward. Because, you know, when you're on Main Street, you look at what we have, it's not what we want it to be.
So then can we put this on the agenda?
Yeah.
That we can begin thinking about this individually, come together.
so maybe Victor, you could send out, so Benchmark has done a plan, standardizing tree spacing for tree grades along Main Street.
And I've shared that with,
I know
Tree board
we've seen some
before.
plans
Yeah, we
in other
talked a
meetings.
couple of meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about, Main Street downtown?
yeah,
We talked about.
including the larger picture as well, not just Main Street, but how about talk about the downtown parks along with it? I mean, I'm talking about the whole kind of enchilada here. Right?
Beyond Main Street, you mean, Patrick, or just Main Street?
Well, I don't know. What do you think? Should we keep it more?
I'd focus it on Main Street right now.
Different
I think it's
committee.
Yeah,
a
and
pretty big project.
I do too, and I think what can we do to help them implement it?
Yeah.
You know, if we can provide trees through fundraising or something like that, that would be huge.
Which is what we talked about when Margot was here at a meeting.
Mhm.
yeah, we can put that on the agenda. Good.
Idea.
Thank you.
Any other member comments? Savannah, thanks for being here.
Yeah,
I guess it's summer break, isn't it?
Review.
You're
Yeah.
done with school even, and you
You're
come to
done,
the
yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
What are you doing this summer?
Just working, volunteering, getting like set up for college kind of. So,
Did you
So were you a
graduate?
senior? Did you graduate?
no, it's my junior year. I have to start like applying.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
For you.
Doing some visits, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fun.
Do we have anything else?
No, I think.
A little bit down, 20 minutes past my goal.
We're still early compared to what we normally
I know.
Okay.
have. It's a good goal to set.
All right. Great. Do we need a motion to?
No, you can
adjourn?
just-
Okay.